What's good, ladies and gentlemen? So here is a prelude part 2 to the Marshmallow Society, which I have not yet released, so that's going to be coming very soon. This prelude is called What I Am Willing to Die For. So I'm one of those people that believe, because as I told you, the second part of this prelude was going to be serious, where the first one was, first one had a modicum of gravity to it, but it had a lot of humor inserted into it. I know it was like no stand-up routine, but I could probably actually turn that into a stand-up routine about, what's it like to grow up in an Asian American immigrant household, right? But I'm not a comic though. So in any event, I'm one of those people that believe if you've never been without, then you cannot possibly know what real gratitude is. And if you've never known tragedy in your life, then you cannot know pure joy. So sure, you can know happiness, you can be grateful, but you can't know it on the same level as someone that has gone without for large portions of their lives, or someone that has known real tragedy. So likewise, I believe that you cannot possibly know what you are living your life for if you don't know what you'd be willing to die for. So what would I personally be willing to die for? I would be willing to die if I could implement a true gold standard as a monetary standard on every nation in the world without any deviation from the standard that I set, that all world leaders would have to abide by, and if they deviate in any manner to try to dilute the gold standard I put in place, that would be punishable by death, to ensure that a sound monetary system will persist for 300 years. And this would not be the alleged gold standard that existed under Bretton Woods, that anyone that understands sound monetary principles knows that was a fake gold standard. It was the gold-backed dollar standard. It was US dollar standard, not a gold standard. And then as well, I would not even want the definition of the gold standard in any textbook or online, because I've never read a true definition of a gold standard in any textbook, any historical book online, never seen it. And I also would not even want the historical real gold standard that was in existence in Great Britain and in the Americas during the 1600s, 1700s, and 1800s in effect. It would have to be my definition of the gold standard, because I've taken the historical definition that existed and improved upon it, because with the advent of technology today, you can update the platform of the gold standard that existed hundreds of years ago. And with technology, you can improve upon it in a manner in which the platform would immediately identify and stop bankers that try to pollute the purity of that standard, as would be their nature to do so. So that's how much I believe in the gold standard. And anyone that knows me knows I'm not being hyperbolic about this. I'm not speaking in metaphors. I would actually be willing to die if I could put a 300-year gold standard, non-diluted, sound monetary platform for every single nation in the world. Those would be my conditions. Why? Why would I be willing to die for that? Because I know it would free the world's population for 300 years. So, and if I can only guarantee for 100 years, then I'd be willing to spend 10 years in prison. And again, that's not hyperbole. My friend Patrick spent 12 years in jail fighting against apartheid in South Africa. So what's 10 years to free the entire world? He spent 12 years trying, to free, and he had a large role in freeing South Africa of that repugnant, immoral apartheid system. So I believe with all my heart, 100%, that if a real sound money system was the standard in every single nation in this world, that would be the greatest thing in history to make the greatest progress in the global problems of poverty, war, hunger, drug abuse, against terrorism. And it would make great strides in the first 4 or 5 years, like tremendous strides to solve all those problems. And then people would realize, hey, I've been working for my whole life trying to address the problem of global poverty, global hunger, global war. Oh, it all has to do about the monetary system because we have a repugnant, wicked fiat currency, fractional reserve banking system in place that works against all of those all of the solutions to those problems. So when you see here the World Bank, IMF said, we're working to fight world hunger, don't be deceived by those repugnant people. They're just playing us, saying they're doing these things to solve the problem, when all they're doing is ensuring that these problems not only persist, but become worse, as we've seen, right, with the inequity and the gap in the wealth distribution in the entire world. It's gotten much worse, not only in this past decade, but even during the global economic pandemic lockdown. Who made all the money? The billionaires made all the money during the lockdown. So if I could be guaranteed that true 100% gold standard as I defined it, because I spent years thinking about this and developing it. What is it? Well, you'll find out when I release my SK Wealth Academy, because it's in there, because that was years of research. So I guess I can make a 2-hour podcast and explain it, but it's already all done. So again, if I'm going to say that's going to last for 300 years, that would be 300 years of the greatest freedom the world has ever seen in world history. So when people in the past think, oh, this guy, this SK Wealth Academy guy, he has an ulterior motive for constantly promoting sound money as the moral, humanitarian money system above all, right? Over that wicked, misanthropic, fractional reserve, fiat currency banking system and monetary system we have today. And they think it's a view I hold because I'm selling a book. What book? I have no business right now because I've been on lockdown for 4 months. And the fact is that very view, which I'm promoting right now, which I'd be willing to die for if I could put that in place for at least 300 years, caused me to lose my last business. So with great irony, the cynical view of my promotion of sound money and the gold standard is the exact opposite of reality. So the reason I'm not afraid to die also is the exact opposite of why these transhumanist billionaires like Bill Gates and Peter Thiel are so afraid to die and always trying to work on becoming immortal, engaging in parabiosis, trying to merge the transplanting of human brain and human consciousness into an AI shell so they could be immortal at some point in the future. I have never at any point in my life sold my soul. So I don't fear where my soul will go in the afterlife like these transhumanist billionaires do. I'm not concerned about only this life. I'm concerned with the timeline of my soul, the eternal timeline, because I believe my soul is immortal. And I know a lot of you listening to this one hold different beliefs than I do about, afterlife and what happens to your soul after you die, and that's fine. But I'm saying that's what drives my lack of fear about dying. And everyone I hold in high respect in this life also believes this. So, the people closest to me, I'm not saying I couldn't hold someone in high respect that didn't believe that. I'm saying everyone I know very well believes that as well. So in the afterlife, I will see them all. When I left my martial arts sensei, the last thing he said to me was that if I don't see you again in this lifetime, I'll see you in the afterlife. And besides, at this point, I've had 4 or 5 real experiences in my life in which I could have died. So I'm not talking about like it was a flip of the coin whether I lived or died. I don't want to exaggerate, but they were real possibilities I could have died in those 4 or 5 instances. Because like one was I was within the blast radius of a suicide bomber in Indonesia, and I just left a couple hours before that happened. So what happened if I stayed a couple more hours because I was out at night, right? Having a couple drinks with friends, I could easily have extended that conversation. We could have stayed a couple more hours. I could have walked out when that suicide bomber detonated his vest, and I could have died. So that's real. I'm not talking about something that's just so exaggerated that there's no possibility of me die. All these situations, there have been 4 or 5 where I really could have died. One, I was arm's length away from someone wielding a lethal weapon, like menacingly. So again, I didn't die. So, in obviously, because I'm still here, and I don't want to die, but I'm just saying I would never do everything in my power to try to stay alive. But I'm saying if my cause takes me to this place where somebody, like my death is a result of that consequence, I will be fine with that, because freeing the world for 300 years, that is the greatest gift anyone can give to humanity in my mind. Freeing them from the financial bondage of the parasitic ruling class. And again, which by the way, they're going to up their, you may have heard of the global reset by the World Economic Forum. Well, I study that. I'm going to make another podcast about that soon. So if you have not yet subscribe below, hit the notification bell. You'll be notified when I upload that podcast about the Great Reset. Because that Great Economic Reset, man, they're going to up their control over us by 1,000 times. And say goodbye to financial freedom if that happens. If we don't rise up now, they are, and I'll tell you, because you're going to use technology, and we always think technological advancement is good. No, it is not good, because technological advancement, is not good in all cases. Of course, it's good in many cases, but in all cases, it's not good, because technological advancement is what ruined any true price discovery in U.S. stock markets, because now you have spoofing, pooling bids, high frequency trading algorithms, dark pools, quote stuffing. What else? You just have so many front-running mechanisms of technological use that has allowed bankers to completely ruin price discovery in the U.S. stock market, and that has ruined any semblance of any kind of market in the stock market. And they're going to use that same technology. I will explain how they're going to do that in the global reset. So we better hope that these billionaire parasites don't get their way, because if they get their way with that global economic reset, we're going to lose control of everything. There'll be no more financial freedom, and I'm 100% convinced of that. So for that reason, that's why I'd be willing to die for this certain cause. And I certainly hope, for those of you watching this, if you've never even considered that question, what would I be willing to die for? I think I believe in the yin and yang of life. I believe, you can't have extreme poverty without extreme wealth. I believe that you cannot know what your purpose here on planet Earth is unless you know what you're willing to die for. So just, if you don't know your purpose, maybe that's why, because you've never figured out what you're willing to die for. So I would just encourage everyone watching this that has never even thought about either of those questions. What is my purpose in life? What am I willing to die for? Just really to explore those topics, because I think you will gain so much clarity and focus in your life once you're able to answer those two questions. So that is Prelude Part 2 to the Great Marshmallow Society that's coming up. So thanks so much for watching. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. And as always, remain intensely curious. So long.